Earth, our home, incubator of life. Through our lines of life, we recover the knowledge hidden within our bodies and Earth herself, to raise our brothers and sisters to a new state of consciousness.
Peace, YouTube. Welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be on a television show that I watch called Good Trouble. Now, if you've never heard of Good Trouble is a spin-off of a television show called The Fosters, which I did a video about The Fosters last year when it ended its 5-season run. But basically, The Fosters is about a girl named Callie who was part of the foster system, and she eventually gets her forever family in this couple, Lena and Stephanie, or Steph, and they're a lesbian couple who have fostered 2 other kids who are twins, and Steph has a biological son. And basically throughout the show, it talks about different issues going on through the foster system, about race, about gender, about LGBTQIA+ issues, and various other things, including the criminal justice system, and prostitution, and pimps, and about bullying, and about coming out, and like all different types of issues going on in society today with young people. And so it ended its 5-season run last year, and so this year they started off with the spin-off, which has the main character Callie and her foster sister turned real sister, Mariana, who is part of the twins, Mariana and Jesus. And they have them way in the future after they've graduated college and high school and everything, and they're off on their own, and they both are working 2 really good jobs. Callie is a lawyer, or she needs to pass the bar, but she's a lawyer who works for this conservative judge as a liberal. And you have Mariana, who works in the tech industry and deals with a lot of misogyny and racism and all different types of dynamics there. And so basically, you know, it deals with the everyday life of those 2 as they live in a place called the Coterie, which basically they live at the top of a theater building, which is like an abandoned theater. And so they live with a bunch of different people. It's like communal living, which is really big among millennials and like Gen Zs and stuff. So they live in that sort of environment, and they're off doing their work and dealing with like everyday life and sex, relationships. They're dealing with family, they're dealing with jobs, they're dealing with confidence and being people of color and being women and all of these things. So the titular character, the main character, her name is Callie, and she is a white woman. And then you have Mariana, the other main character of the spin-off Good Trouble, and she is a Latina. And both deal with different types of things in their everyday life and in their job. You know, Mariana being a Latina, so a woman of color, and Callie being a white woman. And so during the time of the Fosters, Callie dated a lot of different people. And one of the biggest storylines that she dealt with on the Fosters was that she was in love with her foster brother, then turned real brother, Brandon, and the whole thing that goes on with that. But today we're not going to be talking about really any of that stuff. Today we're going to be talking about white women and their need to save people of color and to be the savior of people of color. So I'm relating this to the show The Fosters and Good Trouble as it relates to Callie. So on The Fosters, Callie dated a guy named AJ, and he was a black foster kid he was living with his brother because his parents passed, or his mom passed, and he was with his grandmother, but then some stuff happened. His grandmother's really old, so they ended up in foster care. And due to that, his brother, you know, got into some stuff involving like almost killing the twins. It's a long story, you have to watch the show. But basically how AJ and Callie come together is that Callie was working at this like youth center, and AJ used to come to the youth center, and AJ was going through a lot of stuff, and so Callie ended up getting it so that AJ could come stay with the Fosters. And eventually AJ ends up being Mike, who is Brandon's father, ends up being his foster kid. It's a long story. You have to watch the show. Basically, there's one part that I want to talk about. So Callie is this type of girl who has gone through a lot of things on her own. She was a foster kid who lived with these horrible foster parents who abused her, who, was only in it for the money. And one of her foster families had an older brother, and he sexually molested her. And, she's been to juvie 3 times, or, 2 times, 3 times, I can't remember. And she just had a really hard life. And she has a little brother named Jude, and they've been a deal package their whole lives, from foster family to foster family to foster family, until they found the Fosters, which is really wonderful. But the thing that's really been messed up the whole entire series, and it's transferring over to Good Trouble too, is that Callie has this way of getting herself into trouble. Whenever something is going too perfect for her, she can't deal with it, so she causes trouble for herself. And usually that trouble ends up leading her and her brother to get kicked out of their foster family, and they end up going to a different one, or ending up in juvie, or whatever. And so, in the beginning of the series, Callie runs away from home because she kissed her foster brother, and her and Brandon end up falling in love, and she ends up in this place called Girls United. In the second season, she deals with a lot of different issues there, and there's just so many different issues that she deals with throughout the show, and a lot of them, to say the least, are unnecessary issues. From the first season, Steph and Lena really wanted to adopt Callie and Jude because they felt sorry for them. They wanted them to have a forever home, and Lena and Steph are really, really open, really, really amazing parents. And so they wanted to have Callie and Jude be a part of the family. But Callie messes it up, kisses Brandon, and runs away from home. Second season, she messes it up again. Her biological dad comes into the picture, and then things get messed up there. And it's just so many different things that end up messing up Callie's life that affects Jude. And, with Jude, he's always been the kind of little brother who's just really gone along with it because he had to. But after a while, because he ended up being adopted by the Fosters first, he was able to really lay his foot down when it came to Callie and really just be like, look, I am your younger brother, and the decisions that you make affect me. And even though now I'm adopted by this wonderful family, you're still making decisions that affect me because you're my sister and I love you. But you're hurting the people around you, and you're especially hurting me. And it always was really a great moment when Jude would stand up to her like that, because Callie is the type of character where everything revolves around Callie. If it doesn't have to do with Callie, if it doesn't have to do with her and her heartache, it doesn't matter. So when Jude is going through all of his issues, coming out, being gay at a very young age, does it matter to Callie? No, because she's off running away, trying to run away from her problems, Like I said, Callie dates this guy named AJ, and AJ is African American. And when they're dating, Callie ends up dealing with a lot of different things that don't even have anything to do with Callie. Callie gets herself in basically a hit and run, I guess you could say, but she runs away from the situation, ends up getting into juvie again, and ends up on trial. Why? Because she was trying to help a person who I think was either her foster brother in one of her other foster homes, or she knew the foster parents that were some kind of way she was connected to this guy, right? And she was trying to help him because she loves to help people. And I totally understand and totally admire her wanting to help everybody kind of heart. That's the best kind of heart to have. But when you're detrimental to your own well-being, is it worth it? Now, I'm not saying that some of the characters on the show wouldn't be better off without Callie being Callie who she is, but sometimes she was too detrimental to her own well-being that she ends up in situations and then gets frustrated about it. And there's this one scene in The Fosters where Callie and AJ are dating. AJ's brother is already in jail. And he's been going through these situation where he ended up in juvie as well because of some stuff that happened with his brother. And it was a mess. And so now AJ has a record, and he's African American. And we all know that African Americans, black people in this country, deal with the legal system and deal with the incarceration rate for us is like so high, even on petty stupid things, right? So there's this scene. Callie is in the process of dealing with her trial when it came to the hit and run, and she is talking to AJ about some stuff going on at home, and it's some stuff dealing with him getting adopted and all these things. And she says, "But why didn't you talk to me about this stuff?" Because he's, frustrated about it. He doesn't know what to do. And she's like, "Well, why don't you come to me and talk to me about it?" And he's like, "All we do is talk about you, Callie. That's the problem." And then she says, "Well, I might be going to jail." And he looks at her and he says, "I'm an African American in America, a black man in America. I have a record. I cannot just be out willy-nilly helping you figure out a case that has actually nothing to do with you, but you're just being kind, wanting to help this person, which is important. We accept your kind heart, but you don't need to be out here trying to get yourself into more trouble, which is exactly what you're doing. And although I love you, I cannot just stand by and let myself be in any more trouble, because if I get into trouble like that, I'm going in and I'm not coming out." And it was like, and she just looked at him like,
"So are you mad at me?"
Not everything's about you, Callie. I just found out the only reason Mike wants to adopt me is so Anna can move in.
What do you mean?
Because she has a record that won't let her move in if he's fostering me.
First of all, I don't think that's the only reason. Why didn't you tell me?
Because all we do is talk about you, Callie.
Sorry, I might be going to jail, so...
Whose fault is that? So you keep messing with Troy Johnson, what do you think is going to happen?
You saw him, he's crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and so I need to prove it. Vanessa was married 4 years ago. What if she was having an affair with Troy? She might not talk to us, but her ex-husband might.
You really can't help yourself, can you? You're your own worst enemy.
I thought you wanted to help me.
I'm a black man in America, Callie, with a juvenile record, and I don't have a rich daddy to buy me the best lawyers. If I make trouble and get arrested, I'm going down. Just like Ty. That's it. I'll do anything for you, but I'm not gonna follow you down a rabbit hole.
and I'm like, well, exactly. That's real. That's really real. Like, she didn't fully understand because she is a white woman. She didn't fully understand because she's not a person of color. She doesn't understand how it is out here for us. So this fast forward to Good Trouble. There's this storyline with Callie, and she's dating, whatever. She's not really dating. They're just having sex. Basically, she's using him for sex. And I mean, they're both getting something out of it, but like at the same time, it's very physical, and there is no real like emotions and feelings inside of it. And so this guy named Gael, who's really, really cute. This guy named Gael, he is with Callie, and he's also, because he's a bisexual, so he is bisexual, so he's with Callie, but he's also with this other guy named Brian. And Brian is who actually has his heart. But Callie, you know, she's there. And so Callie ends up breaking up with him or whatever. They stop having sex, basically, because she feels like she is not doing her work the way she should be. And he's not getting anything done with his art because he's an artist. He's a Latino artist who is bisexual and has a sister who is transgender. Anyways, so Callie and him were together. She decides to break it off. So because Gael has somebody else to fall back on, he's like, whatever, it is what it is. But then, because Callie's supposed to be helping Gael with his sister's case, because she has to deal with a lot of legal stuff, she's trying to help with the case, she keeps coming back to his room and his little loft, and every time she does that, she kind of flirts with him. Eventually he gets mad at her and basically says to her face that she really doesn't care about anything else except for Callie. She doesn't understand how it feels or how it is to be a brown person of color, a queer brown person of color, doing art in America. Like, it's very hard, and it's hard to market yourself. And, you know, the conversation comes up because Gael is very cute, very chiseled, very things. And watch the show. But he's fine. And basically, he was going to, you know, have his, like, stand next to his art with his shirt off and, like, try to get people to look at his art through, you know, his physique, basically. And, you know, Callie throws that in his face. And he basically says, but you don't know what it's like to be a queer, brown person making art in this country.
It's interesting how the second you're done playing out your Latino lover fantasy, you have time for good old all-American Jamie.
Wasn't I also a distraction in this equation from all the art you're supposed to be working on? I mean, Brian seems to be here a lot. Is he helping you with that?
Yeah, actually, he is. Brian cares about me and my feelings. He doesn't just sneak up here in the middle of the night to use me for sex and then try and hide it from everyone.
I'm sorry I made you feel that way. I'm sure selling your sexuality on Instagram will make you feel much better.
Oh, look, you have no idea what it's like navigating the world as a queer person of color. But then, you only see the world according to Callie.
And basically it's true. And I just wanted to talk about this conversation as it relates to Good Trouble and the Fosters, but basically this conversation about white women always having to save people of color. White women always think that they're doing the right thing when they're with a person of color. When a white person is dating a person of color, they always think that they have to be, even if there's a situation that happens, right? And it's a minor situation, like it's totally minor, we're not even affected by it, like it's not a big deal. That white person that you're with, especially if it's a woman, they will just go and hop up and try to act like it was the worst thing that ever happened and that they should be out here defending you. And it's like, you really shouldn't, because we are the ones who have to defend ourselves. If we don't do that, then what's the point? And it's also like, white women think that they're the center of attention. And they always think that whatever is going on in their lives is way more important than what's going on in your life, even though you're the one who has to live in a country that hates you. You're the one who has it 10 times harder. You're the one who is a person of color, indigenous, you know, queer, LGBTQIA+, whatever, and you're the one who has to deal with all the hardship that comes with being that in a culture that doesn't like you, that hates you, that wants you basically dead. And it's just interesting. And you know, it's basically a conversation that goes back to the slavery mentality, where basically white women were very much complacent in slavery, even though they try to act like they weren't. They were. And, you know, they had just as much power in slavery as the white men. Now, yeah, they weren't being treated as well by their white men. Of course, we can't ever say that. But at the same time, they were not being treated as well by their white men, so they took it out on the slaves. And they're doing it today. There's misogyny that happens against them. They use that hurt and that pain, that little bit of hurt and that little bit of pain that they deal with from men, from white men, and they take it out on people of color. And it's not cute, and it really irritates me. And I just thought I'd talk about this because it's a storyline that I'm seeing too much on the Fosters, too much on Good Trouble, when it comes to this character of Callie, who seems to not understand that the things that she does to herself are self-inflicted, 100%. And it's not something that a person of color or another woman can solve for her, because it's not our place. It's not. It's not our place to solve those problems for you when we're dealing with our own problems, which are 10 times worse. So it's just interesting. Like, I just want to talk about, you know, the way that white women just think that it's just appropriate to always make everything about them, how they're the victims, and how everything is so hard for them. Newsflash, you're not indigenous, you're not black, you're not a person of color, you're not Muslim, you're not part of the LGBTQIA+ community, you're not a marginalized person, and what you have to say, although you are going through hardships, isn't as heavy as the burdens we have to face. And it's just interesting. And I just wanted to note that as a part of this show, because this show talks about hyper real issues going on in this country every day. They also are talking about the way that white women are always putting themselves front and center and can't let a person of color deal with their issues on their own. Yeah, I might be with you, right? I might be with you. I might hang out with you. You might be my friend. You might be my lover. You might be in a relationship with me in some capacity. But that does not mean that I need you to save me. That does not mean that I need you to speak for me. And that does not mean that I need you to ignore my issues by putting yourself front and center. And I just think that Callie does that time and time again on the show. And it's annoying. And I've seen it happen one too many times on the show, to the point where even her little brother, who is part of the LGBTQIA+ community, has to check her sometimes. And I love it, because she needs it. You know, she does these things on purpose sometimes without even knowing she's doing it. And, you know, yes, 90% of the time it gets good results, but you have to let these people deal with the things they need to deal with on their own. So I just wanted to come on here and talk about, you know, that whole situation on one of my favorite shows on TV, Good Trouble, the Foster spinoff. And if you want to know more about the Fosters or Good Trouble or anything like that, you can check out the video I did last year on the Fosters, which I will link below. Or you can just, you know, check out, I think that the Fosters is all on Netflix, and Good Trouble, the episodes they've had so far, is on Hulu. So if you have either one of those, you can check it out there. I mean, bootleg is always an option as well. I'm a thrifty girl. I bootleg a lot. But, yeah. That was just my 2 cents. I just wanted to get that because I was just thinking about it a lot, and I just wanted to talk about that because I saw a scene and I was just like, finally, another person of color is throwing that in her face, because I'm tired of her and her white ass privilege, especially as a woman who takes it an extra step and thinks that she can just be in control of our feelings and put herself first and just be there to save us when we don't need any of those things. We want you to listen to our problems, but at the same time give us suggestions maybe as to how to solve our problems, but not solve the problems for us. We have to solve our own problems. So, yeah. Until next time, peace and blessings.